Yang, over to you.
Welcome to the panel discussion on safeguarding future networks. In this session, we'll look at both the opportunities and challenges brought by the next generation of telecommunications networks, namely 6G. Now, as the technology is expected to power future communications and technologies, it also brings new risks and threats. We'll discuss the latest cybersecurity strategies and technologies to combat ever-evolving cyber attacks. Now, gentlemen, let's get into the discussion, shall we? About a decade ago, 5G was the focal point of discussion, and now 6G seems to be right around the corner. So what advancements does 6G promises, and how far are we away from its full implementation? Mr. Ba, do you want to start?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation. Yes, but we should not scare the audience. 6G is not yet here. We are still deploying 5G networks. Almost 200 networks globally, worldwide, have been deployed. And over the next 5-6 years, we will enhance 5G using 5G Advanced network, which is providing a number of features. So basically, 6G, we will start the first testing around 2029, 2030 with South Korea and Japan. Of course, there are a number of promises in terms of technological development. Not only from a technology perspective, 6G will be 100 times faster than 5G. That's number one. We will be very close to zero latency. And those technological advancements will be providing us a complete different experience where we will be integrating the digital world, the physical world, and the human world with sensors. So a number of things will be published. Of course, it will pose more complexities for cybersecurity and cyber safety, and I believe we will be addressing these challenges. So 6G, let's say, not before 2030.
And Mr. Alswailem, we know the STC group has been researching 6G, and many years ago, people have already been fantasizing about what a low latency 5G can do. I mean, for example, remote surgeries and really sci-fi-ish things like that. But what does 6G bring?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Just to comment what my colleague Bocar just mentioned, I think the 6G will increase the connectivity or the relation between the human's world and the environmental world and the machine. The more we rely on technologies, the more we are exposed to the cyber safety, and this might impact even the human lives as well. If I look at the history, the more we evolve with the telco generations, the more security adoptions are there. So with the 5G is more into surface-centric architecture. Simply, in the 5G, we're using the concept of softwareization, using the software-defined network to increase the efficiency and the reliability of the 5G. At the same time, slicing the network for each use cases, and each use cases will have its own cybersecurity challenges. Likewise, what my colleagues mentioned with the 6G, it's going to be 1,000 times or more in terms of speed. With the 6G, the spectrum will be higher than the 5G, which means more devices will be connected. If we look at 1 kilometer, it will be around 100,000 to 1 million devices will be connected within just 1 kilometer, which means this will expose the environment and the people to more threats. With the 6G, it's going to be, as you mentioned, zero latency. And this requires from us as a cybersecurity professionals and as organizations in cybersecurity to think more advanced of what could we do to counter the zero latency threats. With the 6G, there will be more adoptions of the AI to orchestrate and to increase the reliability and the dependency of the 6G. But in the same time, the more adoption of the 6G network, the more IoT, the more reliability, the more exposure we're going to have to our economies and our cyber safety as well. So the more adoptions, the more risk. That's the facts, which requires from us as a professionals to reconsider what sort of controls going to be there. As of now, it's still under research, but a couple of researchers are talking about 6G being a quantum ready, but this being a quantum ready means it will increase the cost of the 6G. At the same time, relying on the AI as a decentralized architecture, this will also increase the cost as well, cost of control, but at the same time, it will give more opportunity for innovation, such as the holographic communication, digital twins, e-medicines, as you just rightly mentioned, and more use cases, which means more connection between the people and technology and the environmental. So this requires from us to reconsider the way of the controls ecosystems. One of the things that requires also to be visited, not only the digital controls, but the integrity of the data that are exchanged among the 6G or even the 5G IoT nodes. This will also increase the risk of denial of service attacks and other kind of attacks. Within the 6G, and even we started now with the 5G, the more we adopt the digital twins, metaverse, this requires from us to reconsider the controls in the virtual life. How could we consider the controls and the ethical practice of the technology in the virtual world? So again, I think we have a role as a professionals. These organizations, I believe, throughout the knowledge communities, we are also discussing this kind of future challenges and trying to shape up the future ecosystem of cybersecurity controls in the 6G.
Thank you. Mr. Amor, what is your vision for the 6G future?
First of all, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really honored to be here today. I'm speaking in the third row. So what should be said about the difference between the challenges regarding the cyber security between 6G and 5G has been said by my colleagues. What I can say is also regarding the band of frequency, the use of terahertz, new bands, may be another challenge to keep an eye and to be careful, because I think that it can be one of the challenges that we should pay a lot of attention. This is what I have to say, more than what has been said by my colleagues.
Yeah. Mr. Alswailem, you've mentioned some of the cybersecurity challenges that 6G would face. But here's my question. Will it be more inherently secure than previous networks, given that the security features that are being baked into the design of the next generation of networks?
I think we need to differentiate between the role of the service providers and the role of the technology manufacturers and software developers and the users themselves. Everyone has a role in terms of the security ecosystem. We can't have a blind and a blanket assurance that the 6G will provide a full security, because this requires the user of the 6G, depending on their use case, whether it's e-medicine like what just mentioned, to play a role in to secure the use case of the 6G. Same thing with the 5G, the things that we're doing even as a service providers, we are playing a role to make sure that the ecosystem of the 5G and the 6G in the future is secured from our side as a service providers, making sure that the digital infrastructure is secured against the denial of service, for example, attacks and this kind of attacks. But with the 6G going to be more advanced attack, since we are exposing ourselves to the attack service, something like the cross attacks between the network slice that use, for example, e-medicine and the other network slice that could be used in the education. There could be some attacks among the network slicing as well. And this is the role of the standard body organizations and the service providers to work together to shape up the future controls. At the same time, there will be a lot of data generated from those 6G IoT devices, and this data has to be ensured that is up to the level in terms of the integrity to be able to differentiate between the malicious traffic versus the legit traffic. And this requires also the user of the 6G to play a role again to make sure that their use of the 6G is safe. Now, I think what we need to consider, this is going to be beyond the impact going to be beyond the impact on the technology itself to the level that may impact the human safety as well. So this is the consideration that we need to consider, especially if the use case is something in the industrial, for example, systems or e-medicines, the impact going to be huge and extended to the human lives. And this is the role of both the standards body and the service providers and the user to work together to shape up the future standards of the 6G.
Now, Mr. Ba, from a policy-making perspective, how much of making sure 6G is safe is an international effort? How crucial is international collaboration in developing and implementing the security protocols that are needed for the next generation of networks?
It's a very good question. We have a tendency when we think about cybersecurity to look at it from a technological perspective. Yes, it's true, but it's not only about technology. What do we want to achieve by having secured infrastructure? Let's not forget our objective 2030. We are all nation-bound by the 17 SDGs. And we still, as we speak now, 2.7 billion people who are not connected. And we have to bring them online. Now, one of the conditions to bring them online is not only to provide connectivity, but to provide secured network so we can get the inclusivity of those populations because they will benefit from the digital development. I spoke about 2.7 billion people, but at the same time, when Yasser is talking about 6G massive IoT adoption, we will have hundreds of millions of devices connected. Now, if you look at from the statistic, the threats are not mainly coming from the heart of the network. It's coming from the edge. Hence, we need to have standardization, making sure that devices connected onto the network adhere to a certain number of protocols. For that, international collaboration, we have the Secretary General of the ITU, which is the largest UN body for standardization. We need collaboration with the ITU. We need collaboration with the member state. We need collaboration with the technology providers. Now, this has to be orchestrated by the policymakers. Ministry of Telecommunication, we must have agile and adaptive regulatory framework that may cope with the technological development. We should not oppose safety, regulation, and innovation. We could have innovation in the technological development of 6G. So there is a balance to be struck between both, but at the same time, it can go together. We have to look at the objective. When we talk about collaboration, the collaboration has to be framed. We have a wonderful platform. We are all gathered today for GCF. And this is a very strong convening power. We may have collaboration between established international organizations such as the ITU, new platform as GCF, where we will define the roles, have all the stakeholders coming and having a dialogue, and probably frame the dialogue. If you look at the agenda, and I was amazingly surprised by the varieties of discussion we are having over the last 2 days. We look at cybersecurity from all the angles, including cyber safety. Now, there is one angle that we have not looked at, but again, as a convening platform, we can look at it, is unlocking access to capital. This needs to be funded. Capacity building, new policies, incentivizing telecom operators because it has a cost. Therefore, collaboration from a technological perspective with all the stakeholders across the value chain, collaboration with the policymakers because they are the one championing the approach and leading and paving the way for digital development, collaboration with the technology providers in terms of innovation, and of course, ensuring from a service provider that we have a complete secure network. This entirely is a part of the digital transformation that we are all undertaking to be able to have resilience in case of crisis and a secure network for welcoming the 2.7 billion people.
That's very well said. So the development of 6G and the digital transformation cannot happen in isolation. So when we look at a world map of, for example, 5G development, Europe, the US, and China are major hubs of 5G development, and that's when geopolitical issues come into play. So telecommunication technologies like 5G are closely tied to the concept of national security, with many countries adopting a security-first approach, policy-wise. So how is 6G similar or different from 5G in this aspect? Mr. Amor?
Yes, let me say first about the international cooperation that ITU has just released the Global Cybersecurity Index. And the Global Cybersecurity Index is very important. And it's a fruit of international cooperation, because if there is no international cooperation, we will not have such index to know where we are now, which countries are the best, which country needs some support, and then we have to realize a lot of projects about capacity building, about assistance for countries that need some support, and how we can solve a lot of problems regarding the situation of cybersecurity, global cybersecurity in the world. And also, such platform of Global Cybersecurity Forum is very important in order to continue the dialogue on how we can resolve many questions regarding the cybersecurity issues. Now, regarding the policy is very important. And we in the Arab ICT organization, we try to share with our members the best practices in terms of policies regarding the cybersecurity. For example, we invested a lot in order to realize the Arab cybersecurity strategy, and now there was the creation of the Arab Cybersecurity Ministers Council, which can be also another tool to be used to create policies and special policies regarding the cybersecurity. Thank you.
And Mr. Alswailem, how does the STC group navigate the international regulatory environment when it comes to international collaboration in not only 5G but 6G development?
Well, I think as a national champion, we have a role to play in terms of not to use the technology only, but even to shape up the future standards of the technology as well. So we do have a contribution. We're leading, for example, the knowledge community under the umbrella of the GCF with the membership of 27 members from all over the world, from the east to the west. And those members are sitting together to contribute into the future security, discussing challenges of today to ensure that we have a safe tomorrow. At the same time, we do also collaborate with with other multinational companies, the ITU, the GSMA, and other organizations, and including NGOs and NPOs, to make sure that we are not only attending but also contributing into enriching the content of the cyber intelligence, for example, to make sure that we have a safe world. We're seeing sometimes something unique here, and we're sharing it with our friends on the other side of the world. They're seeing something, they're sharing it with us, and this is what encourages the collaboration. At the same time, we're shaping the controls of tomorrow, leveraging on the incidents or the lesson learned that we have and the precautions that we're taking, and making sure that this kind of precautions are being considered in the governance and controls ecosystem across all global operators. So I believe we, as a national service providers, we have a role, since we are the fuel of the digital economy, giving the tremendous transformation here in the kingdom. We believe that STC, along with all, I believe, the other service providers, they have not only a role to secure themselves, but to make sure that they are ensuring that their customers are getting secured experience as well.
Mr. Ba, what are your thoughts? And how concerned are you that, for example, the sensitive nature of this telecommunication technology could hinder international collaboration?
Well, it's all about the quality of the discussion we are having between governments, private sector, and of course academia, which plays a huge role. It's about information sharing, because a response to a threat must be a collective response. Therefore, to your earlier question, role of government and policymakers, we have to, the cross-border data sharing information should be on a fast-track mode. We have to adopt a regulatory framework which will allow, based on the nature of the data, how can we share data between different countries? Collective response, and understanding and sharing best practices on the nature of the threat faced by the service providers. That's the only way. And why not going all the way to building a repository of nature of responses based on the profile of the threat? One thing is sure, we will have more problem in terms of cybersecurity because of the complexity of the future infrastructure that will be supporting the development. Remember, we will be bringing all our industries onto those network and infrastructure. Healthcare, education, finance, agriculture, environment, name it. The list is as long as we can discuss until the end of our speaking time. But the important point is a clear, pragmatic organization, and we have an existing asset, which are extremely knowledgeable institutions that can help government in terms of capacity building. In the digital transformation process, it's important also to educate the users, to educate at the highest level our leadership. I'm talking for the private sector about the CEOs. Cybersecurity has a cost for the company, and its profitability, it has an impact. But it's also very important in terms of, and I'm coming back into that, to the policymakers and regulators, because it's not only about, let's say, having the empathy of the stakeholders, it's an engagement that, and we have an accountability. For that, we need to incentivize from a different perspective every single stakeholder. So coming to the cost, anything we undertake has a cost. We have to make sure that that cost will not become a burden for the economy at large. So it's important, and I think the moment is right to start having this dialogue through this platform, through other platforms, frame the dialogue, agree on the sequences on the action, because we are now at 5G advanced, 5.5G. And we already start talking about 6G, and a number of developments are going to come over the next coming few years. So the cooperation is important. And hopefully, by next year, if we come back into Riyadh, what have we done between 2024 and what have we achieved in 2025? And this is the best way to progress.
I'm very much looking forward to it. Now, our time is running out, so Mr. Amor, let's have our final question. Do you see opportunities in, for example, harmonizing the cybersecurity standards across telecommunication systems in the Arab world? Is there such a process, and what's your thoughts on it?
Yes, let's say that in general manner, security is very important. And we need innovation, because innovation is the way that it makes our world smarter and smarter. But which is more important than other? I would say that both of them are important. And nowadays we are speaking more and more about security by design and all the problems that we are encountering them today are because the old systems were built because of the result that we need, but not in order to ensure the security. So today we have to keep in mind always that security by design should be present. It would save us from many, many problems coming from cybersecurity challenges.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and ideas and analyses. It's been a very eye-opening and informative conversation. Let's have a round of applause for the speakers. And thank you for listening. Goodbye.